Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxey.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Boxing Breakdown. And I am your host, Mark Roxey, here with my partner in crime, Mr. Harold Hunt. Harold, what's up?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Let's do this.
I'm glowing, bro.
As I can tell.
I know. I'm glowing, and those of you that are tuning in, thank you for being with us tonight on another episode of the Boxing Breakdown. This is, I believe, our 102nd episode.
Wow.
102, man. Boom, boom, boom. I want to throw some confetti. Yeah. That's not confetti. But anyway, yay! Woo-hoo. 102 episodes, glorious episodes about everything from, how to do cuts to, the business and management of the boxing industry and fights galore. I mean, we've been at this thing since before COVID, and It's been such a journey. I mean, we have done so much, Harold, and the Boxing Breakdown has been, some of my favorite episodes were actually in the very beginning. We had Marshall Kaufman on.
Yeah,
that was a great one about being a promoter, what it's like being a promoter, what promoters do for all those boxers out there, those fledgling boxers out there that are wanting to get educated. We've had, cut man Vic come on, talk about being a cut man. We've had neurologists. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know I do cuts, but I always invite people on. Yeah. I pretty much do everything in the industry. Really. I'm like everywhere, but, yeah, I mean, my heart is in the gym. My heart is training fighters. That's what I love doing the most. But, I got a lot of skills that pay bills. So I do other stuff too. But, I remember Teofimo Lopez and his pops. That was awesome.
That was a hot one, boy.
It was a good one. But gosh, we had Protect Yourself at All Times. Adrian Clark was on the program. We've had, James Toney, one of the greatest to ever lace the gloves up, was on the program. And, I love that episode because James Toney is one of my favorite fighters for y'all. If y'all don't know, he is such an underrated fighter as far as the media and as far as, the industry. They don't give James Toney enough credit, but if you ever study him, man, he's just absolutely phenomenal fighter. And one of my favorite all-around guys. He's just a great guy. But Harold, anyway, let's get into this because what I wanted to do is have the folks, I wanted to talk about this weekend, basically September 29th through October 1st, 2023. I just dated the episode, didn't I? Which we never do. But I just did that. And I spent the weekend, man, at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, and I had the distinct pleasure and honor of working alongside Ray McCline and the team at the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame, putting together the induction ceremonies, and the weekend of events was just absolutely incredible. It opened up on Friday night with an amazing boxing card put on by hard-hitting promotions, and the main event was Pizarro. Pizarro was in the main event, and it was a great fight that he had, and the card itself was just really well put together. And, I don't have time to go into all the details of the card. I was there. Everybody was there, from Boots Ennis. I mean, the crowd was star-studded. I mean, you had all kinds of luminaries inside the arena. Manos de Piedra, Roberto Duran was there. I mean, you name it, they were there. They were in the arena, and it was a fabulous night of boxing. Really, really great night of boxing. And then, there were lots of events that happened over the 3 days. So it wasn't just a boxing event, which, by the way, that took place at Bally's in Atlantic City. And then,
Nice.
Just amazing. The folks that were inducted, you had guys like Darrell Wilson, Buster Drayton, posthumously was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Jamila Lawrence, female fighter out of Atlantic City. She's a phenomenal fighter. She was inducted. Pinklin Thomas was inducted.
Pinklin Thomas, yeah.
Yeah, David Tua. Congratulations, David Tua from Samoa.
Yes.
The great George Foreman, man. George Foreman was inducted. Shimon Alvarez Sr. was inducted. Tracy Harris Patterson was inducted.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Adopted son. Adopted son of
Shannon Briggs. Briggs was inducted. Doug DeWitt was inducted. He was so funny. Doug DeWitt was hilarious. But anyway, it just went on and on. I mean, there were so many people, both inducted. There were all kinds of special awards given out, non-participant awards to like Marty Feldman, trainer and manager, who also has two sons that are in the sport. Rudy Battle, Joseph Santalaquito was given an award for media. Benji Estevez Jr., who you met when you were up doing your announcing. Johan Senior was inducted. Lee Samuels, public relations, great Lee Samuels. Matt Howard, boxing advisor, he was inducted. I can go on and on. Arnold Robbins, trainer and manager. I don't know if you know him, but anyway, it was incredible. And then of course there were the pioneers, right? So the pioneer class this year was Rocky Castellini, Frankie Polo, K.O. Becky O'Neill, Willie O'Neill, Joe Miller, and Horace M. Leeds. And it was just an amazing induction. Really, really great. But as you can tell in my voice, I had a great time. There was at the end of the inductions, I actually directed the production, but at the end of the production, after the show was over, after the whole event was over, we ended up going to a VIP room to watch the fight. So I was in the room with, gosh, man, Michael Elijah Day was there. Everybody was in the room. Everybody was there. And it was great. It was a brilliant night. And then, we watched the Canelo fight, and I walked in and what's his name? Randy Schwartz. I think is it Randy Schwartz? The cut man. What's his name?
Yes.
Yeah, Randy Schwartz. Yeah. Sorry, I just rambled off all these names, so my head's going crazy. But Randy Schwartz was in the room, and I went right up to him, and I was like, "So, Randy, who you got in this fight?" And Randy Schwartz is an amazing cut man, one of the best to ever do it. And I asked him, I said, "So who do you got?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know, man. Charlo's really good." And and we had a conversation about the fight. And you know what I said, because if you don't know what I said, just go back and listen to the last episode of the Boxing Breakdown, because I think, Harold, I don't know, how did I predict the fight? Do you recall?
On point. You said Canelo would prevail.
Yeah, I said Canelo would get probably a late stoppage after 8, or it would go the distance, 8-12. And he almost got the stoppage. He got the
knockdown. Yes.
Yeah, so let's get into this fight. Let's go back. Let's go back to Saturday night, and let's recap the fight. So first of all, what were your initial impressions, Harold, about the fight?
initially I just felt like Charlo was out of his element. His face, his demeanor, everything just looked like he just may have not thought he could have an opportunity to win. And in the very first 10 seconds, I knew what the outcome was to be.
Really? You knew it in the first 10 seconds, huh?
10 seconds, because his body language coming in screamed it. The way he moved around the ring before the introduction screamed it. Wow. Everything about his posture, his corner's posture, everyone was, his thought process just wasn't there to win. And he showed it the very first 10 seconds. It was over. I texted some of my friends, some of my boxing friends and judges. I said, this thing is over. Mentally, the battle is lost.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Canelo Alvarez he's the reigning super middleweight champion of the world. And on Saturday night, he definitely, prevailed, and he showed why, he's number one, going to be a future Hall of Famer. And he is. I mean, he is going to be a future Hall of Famer. And really, he took Jermell Charlo and kind of just pushed him to the side, just dusted him over to the side and dominated him in unanimous fashion. He won the fight completely every round. I don't think Jermell Charlo won one round of the fight. And of course, the fight took place at the T-Mobile Arena. It was the main event, sold out. It was also on Showtime pay-per-view. And again, we were riveted, man. I was riveted in the fight. Canelo at the end of the fight, he always comes to win. I mean, that's the thing about Canelo. I mean, you can feel it in his spirit. He's in there and he's trying his hardest. He's exchanging. He understands. Even there were a couple of places that I saw some vulnerabilities. I'm not sure if you saw those vulnerabilities on Saturday night, but he was dropping the right hand in the pocket, which is not traditionally how he works the pocket. His right hand is usually held, right up at his temple, right below his temple, and when he leans over to throw that 5 to the body, that body shot, his hand is usually up. But for some reason on Saturday night, it wasn't up. It was kind of like a little lopey. And I don't know if that was overconfidence.
Yes, I believe so. He knew nothing was coming back. He knew that he didn't have to worry about anything coming back. So he had the opportunity to really kind of line himself up because there was nothing coming back. After the knockdown, he just methodically beat on him. He said, okay, I knocked you down. Now I'm just going to just punish you. Yeah. And he just punished him as much as he could get to him because, Charlo was moving nicely, trying to stay away. It reminded me of how Mikey Garcia had to use all his skills not to get knocked out by Spence.
Yes.
And that's what he did. He moved, he got out of the way. His thing was, I can't get knocked out. I got to go the distance, but I've got to do everything not to get knocked out. Yeah. And Canelo, after a while, he said he just stopped trying to knock him out. He knocked him down. He kept trying to engage him, but he just wouldn't do it. So that was that. I was hoping Charlo would at least try to go out on the shield like Deontay Wilder did and like Hearns did. Right. If I'm going to lose, let me go out on my shield. Let me open myself up and see if I can catch him before he catch me. Yeah. And Charlo refused to do that.
Right. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's Charlo refusing or if it's simply Canelo being absolutely tactically perfect. Well, okay, not perfect, but close to perfect. I mean, just absolutely genius, And there's so much power that comes out of his punches. He's just so powerful that I don't know that Charlo had much. There wasn't anything that Charlo was going to do that night. The only thing that Charlo did that I will say I gave him much respect is that he got dropped in the 7th round by a straight right hand. it was actually, if you go back and watch that, folks, it was brilliant. I sent it to you. Did you see it, Harold? Did I send you the video?
No, you didn't send me the video, but I understand what you're speaking of because I believe I saw the same thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. So it's a textbook blind with the jab. So it was a textbook blind. He double blinded him with the jab and then came right behind with the right hand, split the guard and caught him solid. And it was a brilliant thing. And to your point, nothing's coming back. So he's not even trying to touch him with the jab. Charlo's reacting. The jab's not even touching him. It's just blinding him. And as soon as Charlo came up to see what was behind the jab, boom, he got caught. And that sent him to the canvas. He took a knee, which was a wise move. I don't think he was done. He was hurt to the point that he needed to take a knee. But I thought it was a brilliant, just textbook, how to use that blind in the pocket when you're pursuing a guy and trying to set him up for a big combination. And there were a lot of opportunities to probably take Charlo out. But I think that Canelo was, he just seemed very comfortable at just being on stage, being in the ring and doing his work. I saw some times where he could land uppercuts on Charlo that would have put him out. Uppercut followed by a body shot, followed by an overhand looping shot, either through the middle or around the corner. And I'm looking at it, and I was there with some folks from Hard Hitting, and I was actually talking to them. We were watching a fight together. I go, the punch is right there, the combination's right there, and he's not throwing it. I don't know why he didn't throw it, but I do know that he saw it. I could tell, when I'm watching him, I could tell that he understood exactly the multitude of ways that he could end that fight, but he didn't. And I thought that was really, really interesting. I mean, you guys can poke a little bit more about that, but he could have landed that shot and he didn't land the shot. And at times when he had Charlo hurt, like in that 7th round, he could have picked up the pace, turned up the rhythm and took him out, but he didn't. And I wonder why. Do you have any reflections on that, Harold?
Well, I believe he tried to turn up the volume. He tried to cut off the ring. He wanted to get him in a situation where he could really be effective and possibly stop him.
Right.
But Charlo's entire mandate was to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Move. Get out the way. Move. Get out the way. That's what he did. He basically moved a lot. He didn't necessarily run, but
right.
He moved out the way to not be in a situation we had to engage. Canelo was cutting off the ring nicely, but he was able to get out of there. Yeah. After a while, Canelo stopped, following him around. As I said before, the knockdown kind of satisfied Canelo, I believe, and he just kind of, not coasted from there, but he didn't pursue it as frequently as he did before.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that, Canelo's punches were devastating. I mean, I guess they already had the escape plan for the press conference and for the end of this fight, which is basically Charlo went up 2 weight classes. So folks, if you're listening, you got to understand, going up 1 weight class is hard enough. Going up 2 weight classes is almost unheard of. And you saw what happened when Canelo did it, and you saw what happened when Charlo just did it. So if any of you are contemplating going up 2 weight classes, if you're fighters out there, and you may want to second guess that thought, and certainly don't allow, people who may not have your best interests at heart advise you to go up 2 weight classes. I mean, unless you need the money, of course.
But what I observed?
What?
Charlo did the exact same thing as Canelo did.
Yeah.
As in, he moved up, dared to be great, and lost.
Mm-hmm.
And when he came back down to his weight class, he was successful and he was given a pass.
Yep.
Charlo did the same thing. He did the same thing. He moved up, dared to be great. He lost. Now he gets to come back down to his weight class, and he can still be dominant there.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that the public gives him the same pass they gave Canelo when he went up to fight Big Ball and was unsuccessful.
No doubt. I mean, I can't imagine they wouldn't. I mean, anybody in the boxing industry knew exactly what was happening. I mean, we knew exactly what was happening. Not only did we know what was happening, but we knew how much money was exchanged, right? So the amount of money that's being exchanged, hey, listen, you get that kind of a payday, consider yourself very, very lucky.
What was the payday? It was a 10 guarantee and the back end around 30 after all it's said and done, right?
Man, it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. 10 was guaranteed, and on the back end, after all said and done, he should clear. I mean, the growth should be about $30 million to Charlo.
$30 million, folks. What would you do with $30 million? What would you do with $30 million? Folks, listen to me. There are people that will work their whole lives and never make $30 million. You got to understand what's in the heart of a boxer. You got to really understand that. Like, you can just see it. I mean, if you can make that kind of life-changing money for not just you, but your whole family in one fight, 50 mil. I think Mayweather's, was bringing in 50 mil for one fight, 100 mil, 150. I don't know. I'm not even going to go there because Mayweather will probably holler and say, no, that was not right. I made way more than that. Oh man, he just admonished this guy. I don't know if you saw that, but
I did see that.
You saw that. That was hilarious. I was looking at my feed and I saw him, Mayweather.
But he didn't want to be brought on stage. He didn't want to say anything. If you look at his attire, he had a white sweatshirt on with Dior across the front. He wasn't trying to posture. He wasn't blinging or nothing like that. He was talking to the older Charlo on stage, giving him some tips or whatever. And when they called him, he pointed to himself, me, because he didn't want any of the limelight. Right. He wasn't going to try to speak or anything. Yeah. It was Canelo's night. But then when he got up there, he's going to run down his accolades, and his accolades are extremely important and factual. You cannot deny any of the things that he said. But he did say what? He said, Mark, hey, this is Canelo's night. He's the main attraction. Let me get out of the way. Yeah. He didn't want to be there. He was called on stage because his reputation has its shortcomings. And one of the shortcomings is if he's in the room, he's going to be asked to speak. Even if he doesn't even want any of the limelight, he knows it's not his show. He's not a center of attention. He's going to get there just because he is TBE.
Right. Well, look, when you say that Mayweather was one of the greats, so basically, I mean, I don't think he.
But that's his moniker, TBE. Okay.
Yeah, but he's saying he is the best ever, right? So being the best ever there's a distinction between being the best ever, which is arguable, but yes, you can make the argument that Mayweather is the best ever based on the standards that he put in place as what makes a best fighter, someone who makes the most money, who beats the most champions in his career in the shortest amount of time.
Accuracy.
So yeah.
The most accurate fighter.
And the most accurate fighter. So if you put those things together, yeah, of course, because that's the criteria for the best ever, right? That's his criteria. But I mean,
his criteria. That's the key word. His criteria.
Exactly. I mean, but at the end of the day, the fans' criteria might be a little different, or pundits and people in the field. Because I mean, at the end of the day, look, the best ever is a very different statement than the greatest, or even like one of the greatest ever to lace up the gloves. My greatest, I have greatest that don't, I mean, I definitely love Mayweather. Don't get me wrong.
Yes,
I'm not trying to throw any shade. I'm saying, but I have other fighters that I consider some of the greatest to ever lace the gloves up as well, for different reasons, for completely different reasons than Mayweather's reasons, right? And, let us not digress, because this isn't about Mayweather.
Yes, it is not.
Canelo. So Canelo,
see how Floyd dominates? He dominates.
Well, listen, Floyd, there's only one Floyd Mayweather Jr. There's only one.
And,
he broke the mold.
And for my last thing to say, he set the blueprint for Canelo to have the kind of carte blanche that he has right now, what he's trying to do. And Tank is trying to emulate that. I mean, he set the blueprint. This is how you dominate boxing. This is how you become the cash cow. This is how you galvanize the fans or infuriate the fans. No matter what, you're going to be paid. And Canelo did that in his own way, and Tank's doing that in his.
Yeah. So, again, folks, it was, if you didn't get a chance to watch that fight on Showtime pay-per-view, the fight, basically it was a one-sided fight. I think it was 10-9 all the way through, all 12 rounds. And really, Canelo, solidifies his greatness in that he threw 134 punches to Charlo's 71 punches. And I think where he made the biggest impression was when he landed over, I think it was 40 something body shots. And you get hit by 41 body shots from Canelo Alvarez, right? And you're moving up 2 weight classes. That you gotta take your hat off to Charlo for that.
He's kind of sore right now in that area. He may be, his urine may be red, as with a lot of fighters after a fight with a body puncher, So, he's not necessarily really comfortable right now because, like you said, those body shots, and they're well placed, right on the liver, right, Mark, right on the kidneys, right? Oh. I mean, not kidney punch, but right, but in the legal area, the shock is something, isn't it?
It's brutal. It's brutal. Just one of those punches is bad enough, let alone 40, in the 40s. But, the thing about the Canelo camp, and then I always say this to fighters, Harold, like when we're in the gym, I always say this to fighters. I say, listen, I'm more afraid of that guy who throws that liver shot and he's got it perfect than a guy who just comes in showboating. He's not doing anything great, right? Canelo's his technique. I don't want to say it's basic. I'm not oversimplifying because it's not basic. It's very complicated, but the foundation of his complicated technique is built and designed in the basics. His skills are predicated on his ability to repeat over and over again, to execute the basics perfectly. And take note, that is what it's about. Because you get this guy who throws, 40 some odd body shots in a 12-round fight and lands them. He threw way more than 40 body shots. He landed over 40 body shots on Charlo. That's impressive. That's really impressive. And I just, I can't say enough about it. I thought the fight was amazing. Certainly watching the fight, I don't know how many times you folks out there have been in a room with maybe 150 of the top fighters in the world to ever lace up the gloves and be in the same room with them and watch Canelo. It's hilarious, bro. It's so good. That should be a movie because it is hysterical and it's comical, but it's also truly profound to be in the greatness and the presence of all these people who have, prospered and suffered in the sport of boxing.
Yes.
For the benefit of other people to enjoy, for people to come in and enjoy. These people are the most consummate entertainers Okay. They are
good
entertainers. They're gladiators, warriors, and entertainers. And it's just unbelievable to watch them all watch Canelo, Alvarez, and Jermell, Charlo fight. It was incredible.
So Derek James was saying to Charlo, you gotta don't move.
Right.
Get off and don't move. You don't have to move. Get off and don't move. Stand in there and deliver your shots.
Right.
He wasn't having none of that. He was getting good instruction. He just chose not to do any of that. So we can't say that the corner had conceded, because they did not. They was trying to give him the proper information, which they did. He just didn't want to execute it. Yeah. So the whole thing going forward is Charlo saying, well, hey, I didn't get knocked out. I went up 2 weight classes. I'm going to go down and I want to fight Bud Crawford. Now, I know this isn't about Bud Crawford, but the scuttlebutt here is Bud Crawford wants to fight Canelo.
That's not happening, bro. That ain't happening.
The world thinks that is a viable situation. So they're enjoying it right now. They really are. But it's not feasible because Charlo was getting hit by a man who knows how to take a 175-pound punch from a bigger, stronger man. And he understands that he knows how to handle that. Now, Bud is coming up from 30 at 130, all the way up to however heavy he's going to be. But no matter what, size and that type of understanding of feeling that type of punch, that's not what he's used to. And Charlo figured he had something, but when he felt that power, as you said, Mark, he relented automatically.
Listen, these guys, come on, Harold. Like, if you're trying to make a statement and trying to get recognition and trying to get your name in the press and trying to get yourself in a position where your name is synonymous with Canelo after his tremendous victory this weekend, what do? You call him out, don't you? Of course you do. You call him out. Terrence Crawford is a bona fide welterweight. He is not going to fight 168-pound,
or 60. He's not even going to do 60.
They're going to fight a bona fide super middleweight, man. He's just not going to do it. I mean, anybody around him, his handlers, his team, they're not going to let him go do that. Why would you do that? He just came off of one of the best performances of the year and arguably in the last decade against, a formidable foe. Why would he, meaning Terrence Crawford, try to go against Saul Canelo Alvarez? Why? I mean, I get it. Dare to be great. Yeah, okay. Payday, maybe. Because he only got a couple more fights left. I get it. But not me. If I'm a bantamweight, I'm not going and fighting a heavyweight because that's the equivalent of what they're.
He's just too big. I mean, the narrative is cute and funny and all that. Now, the Charlo and Bud fight that makes some sense to me. It really does. I think that would be a good fight. I mean, they'll be evenly matched, or as far as weight is concerned. I mean, not evenly matched, but the skill set versus the weight. I think I would think Bud can offset that with his skill set. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to really talk about that fight because I don't really have any interest in watching that fight. I mean, What fight do you want to see? Who do you want to see Canelo fight next? I mean,
I would like him to fight Benavidez. But I think he'll beat Benavidez because Benavidez squares up too much. But Benavidez is not going to feel the power and all of a sudden decide he needs to move out the way. Now, John Ryder, when he fought Canelo, he went out on his shield. He said, "Okay, I'm going in. You got to kill me." Yeah. Okay. Now, he gets a lot of credentials for that with me. And I think Benavidez will do the same thing. So that will be a good fight. Benavidez just in my opinion, he's not polished enough not to get hit enough where he'll get hurt. I think he'll get hurt because he's going to stand there and try to run through Canelo in his style, and it's just not going to work because Canelo can really catch you coming in when you're overly aggressive. So I think that'll be a good fight. If you ask me what fight I would like to see him fight, like to see them get together, that would be it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Nah, man. I mean, I think that, I don't know. What do I think? I don't know. Benavidez is number one. So Benavidez is right there in the pocket. You know, he's in pole position to take the fight.
Yes.
You know, you got Christian Mibili. Is that how you say his name?
Yes.
Christian Mibili. And then you got Caleb Plant. They already fought. So he's number three. He's, you know.
Christian doesn't sell seats.
What?
Unfortunately.
No, I know.
Christian.
Listen, there's nobody in the division that sells seats. I mean, Demetrius Andre, Canelo, I don't think will ever give him a fight.
He's fighting Benavidez right now.
Yeah.
As you know.
I understand that. I mean, but I just don't see Canelo.
If he wins, there may be some clamor for him to fight Boo Boo. If Boo Boo beats Benavidez, there could be some clamor for that fight. Really, truly.
I don't see Demetrius Andre beating him. Although I didn't say, yeah, I know. Right. Although I don't see Demetrius Andre necessarily beating David Benavidez. If I look into my crystal ball, I don't really see him beating David Benavidez, right? But if he were to beat David Benavidez, he certainly would be at least in the top two, right? One or two. Yeah. He'd be right there. So maybe Canelo would have to give him a shot, right? But I just don't see that he's number 9 right now in the rankings. And in the rankings I'm looking at right now, he's number 9. So, you know, the rankings in the super middleweight 168 pound division is Saul Canelo Alvarez, who's 59-2-2 with 39 big wins coming by way of KO. And then you got David Benavidez right behind him, who's 27-0 with 23 big wins coming by way of knockout. So that's who's in the pipeline right now. There's nobody else. I mean, Demetrius Andre is 32-0. So he's actually ranked number 9 and has the greatest number of victories. Although his knockout percentage is just about half. He's about 50% knockout ratio. Right. But, you know, I mean, there's a couple of other guys in that division. There's John Ryder is in there. I don't mean no disrespect, John Ryder, but John Ryder's in there. I don't see that the 68. I don't see that 68 has much going for itself. I also think here's another big fight. The 160 pound division has got a lot of interesting possibilities. So Saul Canelo Alvarez is basically right there. He's in that division, right? He's you got Gennady Golovkin, who's number 1. Ooh. They're talking about a Gennady Golovkin fight. Carlos Adame is number 2. Now, I'm going to tell you, that's a bad boy.
Is he?
Carlos Adame is a bad boy. Okay? So, I don't know if, you know, Canelo would take on Carlos Adame, but boy, man, I would love to see that fight. I really would.
He would have to beat that boy off of him. He would have to make the respect come through because Adame does not respect anyone in his style. No. Adame is a real, they call him the Bronco, right? He's the Bronco. He's coming, bro. He's coming hard and he's unrelentless. And to be honest, he's mentally sound. He is mentally. He doesn't waver at all. He doesn't. You can actually go online and if you search him up, if you go on to like YouTube or something like that, you could probably, I mean, you obviously can find us on YouTube because we're at The Boxing Breakdown. The Boxing Breakdown. Yeah, and you can find us on Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcast. You can find us there. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Boxing Breakdown. But yes,
Carlos Adame is also on YouTube, and you can find him on YouTube. And if you look up a video, you could probably find a video when he's at the old Gleason's gym in New York, sparring Terrence Crawford. And he gave Terrence Crawford a run for his money back then.
He did.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is, y'all folks, keep an eye out for Carlos Adame, because he's a contender for sure. He's right there, man. He's ready.
Yeah, I've seen 5 of his fights. I've always enjoyed him.
Yeah, no, he's phenomenal, man. He's ranked number 2. So he's right behind Gennady Golovkin. So if I don't see anybody up at the 168-pound division that is enticing, I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo jumps back down to 160 to try to fight Gennady Golovkin. I think that's a big fight for him. I think that's a good fight. I would pay to see that fight. And I know a lot of folks wouldn't, because they don't believe Golovkin's got it in him. But, he's got one more shot.
I think so.
Yeah, I think there's one more shot in him. And if he waits for the right timing, as Canelo's, coming down the line too, they might meet one more time. And I think that could be a big fight for both of them. So I don't know, Harold, what do you think?
I know Canelo doesn't want to fight Golovkin any further. He's done with that. And the numbers got to line up. The public's got to demand it. But I just don't think he wants to go to that store again. He's just done with that. He's had his fill of that man. Whereas Golovkin knows that is his cash cow, his retirement. He's willing to do 4 or 5 fights. But Canelo's not in that situation. And his style does kind of bother Canelo somewhat. So he doesn't necessarily need to visit it. He's already visited 3 times, and that will be enough.
All right, so check this out. We're rounding out the program, but I do want to say this.
Okay.
You remember that I think I said this on the last broadcast. I'm pretty sure I might have, but I've said it to a bunch of people. The way you have to beat Canelo Alvarez, and I'm going to say it here. Y'all can call me a bluff. You can say, nah, you don't know what you're talking about, Coach Mark. You don't know anything about boxing. Go ahead, say it. It won't be the first time people have said that about me, but those of you that know me,
school us.
Yeah, they know I know what I'm doing. They know I know what I'm talking about.
Let's hear it.
The way you got to beat Canelo Alvarez is, number 1, you got to turn him. You got to turn him. You can't allow Canelo Alvarez, right, to be able to set on those legs. Right? It's simple. Just turn him. But this is where it gets tricky. You got to turn him, and you got to push him back. You have to be able to push Canelo Alvarez back on his back foot. Canelo cannot be left to fight forward. He cannot. And if you go back and you look at the fight that he had with Mayweather
and
Bivol, you can see there's some other things that you can do too. You have to be a supreme counterpuncher, which Gennady Golovkin is not. He was when he was younger, but he seemed to have slowed down on his ability to counter quickly. So you got to have a jab. The thing about the other night with Jermell Charlo is Charlo didn't really have the jab to do the work. But Gennady Golovkin used to have a massive shotgun jab. I don't know. I haven't seen him fight. I haven't seen him fight in the last 2 years. And, a lot of things can change in 2 years. Trust me. Right? A lot of things. Y'all know what I'm talking about out there. A lot of things can change in 2 years. But, that jab, that shotgun jab Golovkin used to drop people off the jab. Like, boom. Like, I'm talking about big world champions dropping them. And so Golovkin had that jab, and that is why I think it's a compelling fight if he still got that jab. But you have to be able to turn him. Golovkin can do that. You have to be able to push Canelo back to have a chance to beat him and counter his counters. If you can do that, you can beat him, and you might be able to build the Taj Mahal too. But you got to be able to pull. You got to be able to do those things. And the fighter that's coming up that can do those things might have a shot at beating Canelo Alvarez. But, I don't see anybody out there in the landscape, in the 160-pound landscape or the 168-pound landscape that can do that. That's that. And then as far as Jermell Charlo, I do believe he goes back to 154. He makes it happen at 154. He's got guys like Sebastian Fundura. He's got Brian Mendoza, Erickson Lubin, who just lost the other night. Oh, no, he won. He won the other night. Sorry.
Yes, he did.
I didn't say he lost.
Yes, he
Apologies. He won. You won. But, so there's some guys there that I think could really, make some compelling fights for Charlo moving forward. And then, of course, we talked about Terrence Crawford, and I definitely know that Terrence Crawford is booked. He's got the Errol Spence fight coming up, but you got Jerron Boots Ennis, who's right
Ennis.
there.
The boogeyman.
He's there. You got Stanciones, who's there.
He's young and hungry.
You got Alexis Rocha, who's a pretty good fighter.
Yes.
He's a pretty good fighter. He's done a great job. He just, he's a great fighter. He just fought Juice a couple months ago on DAZN, 2 months ago. And,
2 months ago.
Yeah, and stopped him. So, stopped Juice. So there's the 147-pound division. There's some nice fights that could happen there in the next couple of months. And then, of course, down at 140 pounds, obviously you got Teofimo Lopez. You got in pole position number 1, you got Regis Progress. That would be a great fight, right? Jose Ramirez is there. Arnold Barboza Jr. is there. Jack Cottrell is there. Jose Zepeda, he just lost, right? He just fought.
But he, no shame in that. He'll be a great opponent regardless of his loss recently.
Yeah, well, he's ranked somewhere in the 7 or 8 range. You got Gary Antoine Russell, who's there, 17-0. Subriel Matisas, that guy
is
under
the radar, man.
He's a Puerto Rican fighter. Bad. He's a bad dude.
Yes, he's under the radar for sure. He is.
He's on my radar. And right now he's ranked at number 6. So, he's not up at the top, but he's there. And then, of course, in the lightweight division, you got Devin Haney, 135-pound Devin Haney. You got in pole position, you got Javante Davis right there. Vasily Lomachenko still hanging out at number 2, waiting for that fight, for that rematch. With Devin Haney. Shakur Stevenson is there. The Shakur is ranked number 3, so he's in pole position for a fight, maybe with Vasily Lomachenko, maybe with, who knows, one of the top 4. Frank Martin's up in there. I don't know how George Kambosos and Ryan Garcia made their way into that, but they're 7-9. George Kambosos is 7.
But they can sell seats.
Well, that was kind of a rhetorical, I don't know why, but I had to kind of.
You said why they're there? Yeah. That's why they're there.
Right. And then junior lightweight division, the 130-pound division, obviously Shakur Stevenson is there, can be there very quickly. Emmanuel Navarrete is there, Oscar Valdez, Hector Garcia. So there's a bunch of fights down there. Lamont Roach is in there. He's coming up. He's ranked number 8. He's a good fighter. Then in the featherweight division, man, I don't know about the featherweight division. I don't see any superstars coming up in the featherweight division right now.
But the talent is so deep. If the people who are casual fans who may not know about their they don't see them that much. That's fine. That's good. Yeah. But if you ever get a chance to watch some of the top fighters in featherweight and bantamweight, you'll be impressed because those guys really can fight. They got great defense, and it's an action-packed fight. We just don't see enough of it because, in where we are in America, the heavier weights get the clout. But I'm telling you, the Japanese fighters and the Taiwanese fighters who are in the lower weight classes, all those fights are just excellent fights. They all got great technique and movement, and it's busy the whole time. They are very entertaining. It's just America, we like stuff big, 47 on up. Well, 30 on up, 26 on up. Anything below that, we really don't see it, So that's why Inoue had to move up, That's why Stephen Fulton cleaned it out, and he went right over there to fight Inoue, because in that atmosphere, in that, that part of the world, smaller fighters are king.
Yo, and you bring up a great point, because in the junior featherweight division, 122 pound division, or 55.3 kilograms, I guess, is you got Inoue, he's there. You've got Tapeles is there. Steve Fulton just dropped to number 3. You got Louis Neary, who's someone to watch out for.
Yes.
Louis Neary is a good fighter. He's got 1 loss on his record, but he's a big puncher, man. He's got 27 big wins coming by way of knockout. You've got Rais Alim, who's 20-0, who's a very good fighter. He's got 1 loss recently. He just recently lost, but he is, he's a.
Before that, he was really touted, and he still is.
Yeah, he's still talented. He's probably more talented.
Touted, meaning that he was to be, the next undefeated champion in that weight class, but he still has the opportunity to do so. But as you said, he had his first loss. Yeah.
So, and then in the bantamweight division, 118 pound, guy, I had a fighter that was supposed to lock horns with the current number 1, who's Emmanuel Rodriguez, who comes out of Puerto Rico. Great fighter. Really, really good. We never got to fight him. I would have loved to have my guy fight him. Couldn't make that happen. And then, there's like Jason Maloney's number 3. Alejandro Santiago is number 2.
Santiago.
Yeah. Takumi Inoue, I think that's Inoue's brother.
Is.
Yeah, he's in there. Gary Antonio Russell is in there. He's 19-1. And Nonito Donaire, bro. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame, bro. He's 42-8. And he's fought everybody. He really has fought everybody. And I think right now he's training in Philadelphia.
And his career is still rolling on, because he still has the kind of effort and, skill set to beat a lot of those guys that are ahead of him, for sure.
Yo, listen to this, Harold. The 115 pound weight class. If you ever talk to a promoter, they're going to tell you that the hardest fights to get are the little guys. It's so hard to match the little guys, right? You've heard that before.
Yes.
Yeah. So check this out. I'm looking at Juan Francisco Estrada's record. He's 44-3. Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez is 51-4. I can go on, okay? Sasriki Sorruganvase. I don't know how to say his name. I've never said it correctly. I've heard people say it perfectly, but I can't get it. And he's 53-6. So why do you people talk about you can't find fights for the little guys? The little guys, their records are twice the size. They've got twice as many bouts as the heavyweights or all these guys. You explain that to me. You can't find fights. Give me a break. Come on, Harold.
Well, it's just, I think it's like I said, our culture. We just don't go to those lighter fights. Now, Gary Russell, being from that clan, he does get a lot of attention. He does.
Yeah.
And he knocks people out, so he's fun to watch. So if he's on the undercard somewhere and that name recognition, you are going to get that. But other than him, he in America, I can't really see anything. But Mark, the fresh Mark guys, the ones, what are that? 1-0, was that 1-0? The champions down in the lower weight class, below bantamweight.
What do you mean below bantamweight?
Fresh Mark. There's two guys. Their last name is Fresh Mark, and they're champions. I forget. Look at it, Mark. You'll see it. But there's just two.
What are their names?
Fresh Mark. Let me look it up. But those guys are undefeated for years, and
Fresh
they put on
Mark.
excellent.
Are you sure you're not talking about a grocery store?
I know.
Fresh Mark?
You're There's two of them in the same weight class, and one of them is a champion, and the other one is not. His straw weight, 105 pounds.
Wait a minute. Welcome to Fresh Mart. Welcome to Fresh Mart. You're talking about
straw weight. Straw weight. Okay.
The 105-pound fighters.
Check out this name. The WBA champion is named Knockout CP Freshmart. He's the WBA champion at strawweight, 105 pounds. And the WBC champion, his name is Parchesme CP Freshmart. And he's the champion at WBC. He's a long-time champion. So it's not like these guys are...
Parchesme, can I please reach over and grab an onion from Freshmart?
That's their names.
I know.
And
just messing with
it's a cultural name from their culture, but they have been there for quite a long time. They are very established champions.
Yeah. I can't even pronounce his name. It's Panya Pradaseri.
CP Freshmart.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
The WBC champion.
And knockout CB Freshmart.
Yes.
I guess he's called knockout because he's got, I don't understand why he's called knockout. He's only got 9 knockouts while Panya or Pechetsme has got 23 knockouts. He's got like I would say he's got like a 60%, knockout ratio. He's
I've seen those guys' names at strawweight for at least 10 years.
Wow.
As champions, I have.
Wow. They're from Thailand. That's why.
There you go.
They're from Thailand. They're both Taiwanese, I guess.
Taiwanese. That's the correct pronunciation.
They're both Taiwanese. And yeah, man. I mean, so there you go, folks. Listen, we just ran down most of the prospective fights. We didn't talk about the heavyweight division, but obviously everybody knows you've got Tyson Fury in there, and you've got Alexander Usyk right up there at 1 and 2. Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua is there. Andy Ruiz is there. Zhang is up in there. Dillian White is still there. Otto Wallen is still there. And Jared Anderson finally broke the top 10. He's in the top 10 according to this. So yeah, Jared Anderson moving right up in there, getting ready to have some big play. I'm sure somebody's going to call him out.
Oh yeah. I mean, he as he continues to move forward and start selling seats, they'll say, "Well, do I want to take this loss or do I want to get paid?"
Yes.
So more people are going to come to his doorstep because he can sell. He can sell now, and they'll risk their undefeated record for a good payday.
Yeah, no doubt. Cruiserweight, you got Jai Opatadia, that guy. IBF. Yeah, you got Chris Smith, and Badu Jack is still up in there.
Yeah, Jack's been there a long time. Floyd Mayweather protege, if you will.
Yeah. And then finally, we're going to end out with our light heavyweights. We got Arthur Beterbiev, who's there. Demetrius Bivol, who's there. And Joshua Butasi, who's there. Mm-hmm. Callum Smith is up in there. So yeah, you got some. I mean, you got some good fights you can make at light heavyweight. Now we hit all the other weight classes. We did them out of order, but at least we hit them. And now everybody's in the know, Harold.
Yes, they are. So just look out for some of the lighter weight classes. If you ever happen to flip them on and see them, you'll be impressed because they really, really come to fight. If you're looking for knockouts, you may not see that, but you're going to see a lot of landed punches and a lot of ferocious aggression at the lighter weights.
No, smaller weight classes are so exciting, and if you're a trainer, you want those lower weight classes. They keep you in shape, man. They keep you moving. I love the lower weight classes. Anyway, Harold, listen, it's right about 1 hour. It's been a great.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's been a great time with you as always. I love chopping up these fights with you, and thank you all for being with us tonight on the Boxing Breakdown. Please do not, if you're watching us on YouTube, do not forget to hit the like and subscribe down below. Add your comments. And if you're following us on Facebook and Instagram, thank you. Please share our page at the Boxing Breakdown. And
do that.
Yeah, man. And then we'll catch you on the next episode of the Boxing
On the next one.
Breakdown. Peace.
Good.